Hello, welcome to Seattle Public Utilities Ask Evelyn Live, where we answer your questions about recycling, composting, garbage, and other trashy topics. I'm your host this week, Pat Kaufman. Becca is away. This week's episode, Getting on the Level with Tool Libraries. So we've got a special guest, and she's joining us now. We use a lot on this show, but sharing it in another way is by sharing tools. Tool libraries are a great way for you to get tooled up and for you and your latest project to use a used tool while connecting you to your community and decreasing your footprint and saving you a little cash. This week, our special guest is Gina Hicks with the Capitol Hill Tool Library. Welcome, Gina. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Good to see you. So this week, we have a question coming in from Ginger. Before I get to that, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Capitol Hill Tool Library?
Sure. I'm Gina Hicks, and many years ago, somebody introduced me to the idea of a tool library, which is basically an opportunity to not have to buy things, to get to share things with other people so that I don't have to waste space in my closet. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. I live on Capitol Hill. We're all in apartments. This is great. And then he didn't do anything. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to do this. So I found a location. We've been open for a little over 6 years now. And one of the things that was also super important to me about this is that since we are in apartments, that we want to be able to have a workshop space. So it's not just borrowing tools. People can also come here and use the space to work on their projects or just to, sit around and chat with their neighbors, because it's just a big community gathering place. And we have free classes, and we also have repair cafes, which are where people can bring in broken things, and we'll have fixers here ready to help them fix the stuff. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
A great service to the community, Gina. Thank you. And thanks for joining us again today. So
yeah,
I'll
sure.
jump right to the question, then we can dig into more tool library details and stuff. Question comes to us from Ginger. It says, hi, Evelyn. I'm working on a bathroom remodel and need to buy a few special tools that are expensive. Do you know if there are any places that I can buy used tools? Thanks, Ginger. Well, Gina, what would you say to Ginger with her question?
Well, what I would say to Ginger is, you got to ask yourself, do you really need to buy the tools at all? If these are like super specialized tools, what you're going to buy them and then they're going to sit in your garage or in your closet, not being used again after the project is done. So I would be the first thing is say, do you really need to buy it? Maybe you can reach out to a tool library in your neighborhood and just borrow the tools that you need.
That's great. I mean, and there's multiple. I mean, you have the Capitol Hill area covered for sure, but then you go over to, West Seattle or Northeast or up Northwest. Can you list some of the other tool libraries that exist in the area?
Yeah, sure. There's the Southeast Seattle Tool Library down in Columbia City. There's the Northeast Seattle Tool Library up in Lake City Way. West Seattle is obviously in West Seattle, Ballard in Ballard, and then Finney, which is the oldest of the kind of modern tool libraries, is up in the Finney Neighborhood Center. But then even beyond just the immediate Seattle vicinity, there's Federal Way, there's Vashon Island. So even regionally, we have a lot. But then even beyond that, it's a national, and actually it's an international thing. There's a Google group that we're on. And so people are all the time, we hear about new people starting up tool libraries. They're like, how do I do this? And everybody jumps in and offers them advice. We're all separate, but we're super communicative and helpful with other people trying to get these things going.
That is great. The thing about the tool libraries that I think, for Seattle is that it's not known by a lot of people. There's so much, commerce going on with tools. What's another way, in case someone did want to buy a tool, they might want to get a used one, to Gina's point?
Yeah. So if it's an opportunity where, it's a tool that you really are going to use a lot. And so trying to borrow it just really doesn't make sense. There are things like Craigslist or OfferUp where you can basically connect with an individual who's got a tool and they can say, yep, I'm not using it anymore. You can take it over. It can become your new favorite tool. And so that's another great opportunity. Goodwill to a certain extent, but it's not as specialized as these. You can go, like when our table saw died, we're like, oh my gosh, we need to get a new table saw, and we don't want to go buy a new one. We specifically wanted to get a used one because we don't want to generate false, demand in the marketplace. So we, drove out and got one off of Craigslist, and it's been great. So we make good use of that.
That's great. And then, so the platform and how it works, it's pretty high tech, right? You have a whole inventory system, and tell us a little bit more about how membership or engagement works.
Yeah, certainly. So, so starting with the inventory system, all of our tools are inventoried. So we have, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got, there we go. It's got a number written on it. So it's CHTL, so they know it's from our tool library, because sometimes people are engaging with different tool libraries too, and you want to know which one to take it back to. And then it's got a number, and the inventory system was actually built by the folks that were running the West Seattle tool library. They're like, we need a way to catalog our tools. So they built it for them. They were like professional people in software. So they actually turned it into a real product that is actually, its own standalone thing.
Yeah.
That all the tool libraries, except I don't think Finney uses it, but all the other ones, sort of modern era ones, use the same inventory software, at least in Seattle. Obviously, all over the world, they don't all use it, but most of the ones in Seattle do.
But yeah, I've heard of it actually through other channels, and how, generous they are with providing that platform to the other tool libraries. And that way, your frequent flyer kind of customers who are dabbling in different tool libraries can kind of keep track of where these things go. Because it's not like Seattle Public Libraries. You can't just drop it off of any one of them and it's going to go to the other place. Well, not quite that level yet, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you would bring that up, because when I was starting it, doing research into other tool libraries in Berkeley, the tool library operates through the public library system.
Okay.
And so I actually did approach the library system here, but I couldn't get them to bite on it. But they already have some things that aren't books. They've got like a kilowatt thing that you can check out. So I'm not giving up on them. Maybe we can bring them around sometime.
Gina, I think you're right. There's been chatter in the reuse space of libraries of stuff, things beyond the tools. The tools have really led the charge in this, non-government group. It's not a agency-based book library or media library, but it's a tool library. But for example, we at SPU provided you a set of dishware recently, right? Some 20 or so plates, spoons, cups, and forks, silverware, and cups, and that kind of stuff, right? All in a bucket, ready to go for your next party. So
definitely
all, those kinds of things.
And we have all other kinds of things. Speaking of things for parties, you're kind of
let's see, what do you got?
So I thought this would be fun. It's a chocolate fondue. So a chocolate fountain. When are you gonna, how often are you gonna do that?
Oh, that's great.
Not very often. You're not going to have a chocolate fountain running all the time, but once in a while you have a special party, you want to have a chocolate fountain, you can come borrow it from the tool library. So we have a lot of cooking things as well. We also have obviously a lot of garden things.
Yeah.
But specifically to her point, in terms of tile stuff, the thing that I held up, this is actually a drain tool for taking the drain out of your tub. Very specialized. You're not going to need this very often.
Yeah.
And then of course there's more general things like some tile nips, or the trowels and floats and stuff.
Floats.
And then, I don't think you can see it. Let me shift down.
Oh, you got so many tools over there. Yeah. For us to look at.
But there's a kind of manual tile cutter, and then the big one where it actually has a big blade for doing mass production of tile
that's
cutting.
Industrial commercial grade stuff there you got, not just the hand tools.
Right, exactly. And then the other thing we have is sometimes we get consumables in. So somebody actually dropped this off. So this is little tile spacers.
Oh, handy.
So, you don't necessarily have to buy your own, especially if you have a smaller project where instead of having to buy a big bag, you can come borrow some from us. We have lots of nails and screws.
Those are reusable.
Zip ties.
Yeah.
And even things that aren't reusable, we have people have they buy a bunch of staples, they only use some of them, and then they bring the rest to us, or sandpaper. So we have consumables as well. And then another popular item, the stud finder. This is super popular. People are hanging a lot of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I've got one of those here. Oh, yeah, it's right there. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so some of the other things that we wanted to ask you about is, how does the community, the membership part, how does a person join beyond the platform? Is there a fee?
So with ours, and they're all independent, so they're all a little bit different. For us, being accessible to everybody is super important. So for us, it's donation based. So we recommend $40 a year, But my
Mm-hmm.
spiel is always, oh, but if you have a spare million, we'll take it. If you don't have anything, that's okay too. So for us, it's not about the money. It's just we want to build community, give people a space, resources that they can use. But obviously, we have some bills to pay. So,
Yeah.
we'll take your money if you want to give it to us. And then when you borrow things, there's no cost. So there's no like per day or per item rental. You just pay
Wow.
the annual membership fee of whatever amount you want, and you can use the space, the workshop space. There's no hourly fee or anything. It's just first come, first serve. Come down and do what you want. And all of our classes are free.
Oh my
So
goodness. We might have to do an Ask Evelyn show in your workshop. We'll have to come down there one of
yeah,
these days.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
talk to
Well,
Becca.
we're having a party on night out where we close off the street,
There you go.
and it's lots of fun.
That's great, Gina. So, talking about the shop itself and all the activities and all the things you've done over the last 6 years, you've done this mostly bootstrapping it on your own. You've taken the initiative, the passion to get this going, but you did receive some support from Recology in the city. Is that right?
Yeah, at the beginning, we got a grant from Recology, which covered all of our the cost to build out the space. We had
Right.
to, we'd changed use codes or whatever, so we had to do a
Okay.
lot of things to get it up to code. And then we got a grant from the Neighborhood Matching Fund to help operations for the first
Mm-hmm.
year. And then we've also gotten a grant from SPU for our repair cafes, which was just before the pandemic. We just squeezed them in before we had to cancel
Nice.
them. But we've started them up again. We're trying to do them quarterly again. So that's in part of the rotation with our regular free classes.
Excellent. Well, that's so much information, and the community is so lucky to have your tool library as well as the several other ones across the city. And thank you for your generous time to come and join us and tell us all about it. And hopefully Ginger gets some good response there, some good answers to her questions. Any final thoughts on your operation or things you want to share with us before we wrap it up?
Well, I know that we rely on volunteers. I know that the other tool libraries also rely on volunteers a lot too. So if you've got some spare time, head on down to your local tool library and help them out, because they could sure use it. And it's like I said, it's a great way to meet people, and you learn all kinds of new things. Like watching other people do projects, you can learn a lot. And we find that the people that are here are also super amenable to questions. So it's a great way to learn new things and meet people and help the community all at once.
Well, we'll certainly have your website on the show notes page of our website, and probably links to the other tool libraries as well. But thank you so much, Gina, for joining us. Great to have you on the show. Folks, that's another show of Ask Evelyn. This show runs on questions, your questions. So please send them to us. You can get us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or send us an email at askevelyn@seattle.gov. And we'll see you next week. Becca will be back with me at 1:30 next Wednesday. So with that, we'll see you next week. Thanks again, Gina.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Bye-bye, everybody. Remember to recycle right. Bye-bye.